In this episode, we're going to look at some more forgotten action figure playsets from the 1980s. So, stick around. Hello, fellow dorks and dorkettes, and welcome to Nostalgia Syndrome. My name's Rob, and in this episode, we're going to talk about more forgotten action figure playsets from the 1980s. This is the second installment of the Forgotten Playset miniseries, so we got some more to come in the future, and if you missed the first one, I'll try to put it at the end of the episode for you to click on and view. I just want to say I'm using the term forgotten very subjectively. Now, I know there's a lot of awesome toy lines out there that aren't forgotten by people. They have very fond memories of them. But these playsets are ones that I forgot about or I didn't even know existed when I was a kid. So I don't mean any disrespect by using the term forgotten. Anyway, on to number one. There were plenty of villain playsets in the 80s. We had everything from Snake Mountain to the Terror Dome to Mum-Ra's tomb. These nefarious settings were the things of nightmares. These locations spelled doom for our heroes, but they were so much fun. And number one is a playset based on a villain and themed after a location from a hit 80s movie. And that is Sato's Canning Factory. Yes, Sato, the villain from Karate Kid Part 2. He does not get a lair of doom and villainy. No, he gets a canning factory. Now, true to form to the movie, the canning factory was where Daniel learned his drum technique by dodging dangerous ropes with spikes and blades on them as they whizzed by his head. And the playset allows you to recreate those parts of the movie. There's a place where you can put Daniel where he'll move back and forth, while plastic ropes with dangerous items on them swing by. Also, like the Karate Kid playset that I included in the first installment of this, there is a pop-up ninja for Daniel to crane kick or sweep the leg or whatever he wants to do with it. But it's just a little cardboard ninja that pops up. This was made by Remco in 1986, and Karate Kid, with its popularity, you would have thought Remco would have a license to print money, but unfortunately, they put way too many of their eggs in the Miyagi-Do basket, and it kind of helped plummet the company. This looked like a very fun little playset. I didn't have any of the Karate Kid figures. I remember seeing them at the Kmart and really wanting some of them, but I was never able to. This playset looks like you could use it with a bunch of other toys too, which is also a great selling point to a playset. I mean, it's just a little dock area. You could do a lot of cool things with that. Now, number two on the list is yet something else that you could play with any action figure with. Well, of the 3 3/4 scale at least. And this is the ATeam's Command Center. Made by Galoob in 1983, this very basic looking building could be used for 100 different things, and that's what's awesome about it. This playset was equal parts cardboard and plastic and stood 3 feet high and 2 feet wide. It featured such action features as a working crane, a working elevator, and a working periscope. Other than that, it looked like a nondescript abandoned warehouse. Think about the potential of playing with G.I. Joe with that. It could be a Cobra base. It could be the Dreadnought lair. I mean, the world would be your oyster with just a basic warehouse like this. Now, I have fond memories of wanting the ATeam toys. I was never able to get them. Either one, either the 3 3/4 G.I. Joe sized ones or like the 5-inch He-Man sized ones, which had great face sculpts, by the way. But either would work with this. I mean, the 5-inch ones would be a little bit too big to probably ride the elevator, but they could still hang out in this abandoned warehouse. And talk about a perfect playset for the A-Team, an abandoned warehouse. I mean, the perfect hideout when they're hiding out from the law, when they're waiting for their next job to save people. I mean, just perfection. I would love to get one of these in my collection today because I could just envision hours of playtime with it. Number 3 on the list is Fort Cram from the Bravestarr toy line. This was made by Mattel in 1986, and this playset had some really neat features to it. First off, it looked like a Old West storefront. You had a bank, a command center, and I forget what else on the end. It had an explode out window, a bank vault that you could blow out to rob, and a huge watchtower that came out of the center of it. Now, I was a big fan of the Bravestarr toys. I always wanted the laser action ones. Now, I got the bare bones ones, and I still loved them so much. I had Tex Hex and Bravestarr, and I had hours of fun with them. But if I had those laser versions, oh my god. Oh. But anyway, this fort would have been awesome. It's big because they were big figures. I mean, the watchtower itself probably stood almost 2 feet tall. And the fact you have a bank vault that would explode, I mean, come on, that's really awesome. Now, for as much as a fan I was of the toys, I do not remember this ever coming out. So this was a surprise for me when I started doing some research into playsets. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. And it would have been an awesome addition to my Bravestarr toys. Now, number 4, kind of generic, yet kind of tied to toy lines. A couple of them, actually. It was made by Remco in 1984, and it was the Fortress of Doom. Yet again, this was made from equal parts plastic and cardboard, something that Remco excelled in, and just looks great. Pictured on the box, you have characters from the Conan toy line that they did, the Warlord toy line, Monster Men or whatever toy line that they did. I mean, this was a love letter to the Remco figure. This looked awesome, and it just... You had dozens of toys that could go with this, from He-Man to any of the Remco toys to any of the other generic and awesome He-Man scaled figures that are out there. The art that is on the cardboard that's used for the fortress looks like something that came right out of a D&D book from the 1970s. It has such a great aesthetic to it and just looks great. The one thing that sets it apart from a lot of other playsets is the bridge. I think that is a great addition and really sets it apart. Really cool, really awesome. And yet again, it's not nailed down to one specific toy line, so you could have hours of enjoyment with whatever toys you'd want. You could even throw G.I. Joe in there, that it's the Cobra Fortress that's up on that mountain that we never got a toy of. Now, number 5 on the list comes from the Otherworld toy line, made by Arco in 1983, and that is Castle Zendu. You want to talk about a great creepy aesthetic? This castle had it all. Everything from the gaping maw of a monster as your entrance, to above that, a huge skull. I was a huge fan of the Otherworld toy line. I had a few of them. We picked them up at the local Woolsworth, and their shtick was, because all action figures had to have something, were that they were bendy. So these little sword and sorcery figures were bendy and had glow-in-the-dark weapons. What more did you need? I mean, glow-in-the-dark, you slap that on anything and a kid will want to buy it. Well, not a kid nowadays. Now it needs to be Wi-Fi accessible with a LCD screen and all that. But back then, glow-in-the-dark was cutting-edge technology. On the box itself, it says it's made for all small-scale action figures. So they were selling this as it could be used for anything. Now, I didn't know that this awesome plastic castle existed when I was a kid. Again, I discovered it while doing research for these episodes, and I instantly fell in love. I would love to find one day. I'm sure it goes for a pretty penny because the Otherworld toy line never really caught traction, unfortunately. So I assume it's kind of a rarity because they probably didn't make that many of them. But one day I'll take a look and hopefully invite you guys along while I hunt for it. But anyway, that's in the future. Anyway, that was just a quick list of 5 forgotten action figure playsets from the 1980s. Each one of them is cool in their own right. Each one of them could have been used with any of your toy lines, which makes them great. Even the Canning Factory, I could see potential of that because it's just a dock with swinging stuff on it and a pop-up ninja. Ninjas go with anything. Docks can be for anything. I mean, you could dock your G.I. Joe boats. You could have He-Man run across the dock to save somebody from Merman. I mean, the possibilities are limitless. And that's what I love about these play sets. They weren't nailed down, well, a lot of them weren't nailed down to a specific toy line. Now, the ones that were, they're the ones that live in infamy, that we'll never forget. But these forgotten ones had a lot of potential. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them and I love getting back to everybody. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the episodes that YouTube is recommending, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you'll be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky.